Am I the a-hole for letting my grandmother die with a secret that would have destroyed our family? I'm from deep in the South, where family means everything, at least. That's what people like to say. But what they don't tell you is that the same families have skeletons buried so deep, you wouldn't even know you were living in a graveyard. I, 27, grew up in a small town in Louisiana where everybody knew everybody's business. My grandmother, Miss Adelaide, was the matriarch of our family, a woman whose word was law. She was strict, religious, and mean as a rattlesnake if you crossed her. She also had a secret one so dark that I only discovered it 2 months before she died. And I had the power to expose it, but I didn't. And now I wonder if that makes me the worst kind of person. The confession: Miss Adelaide was dying. At 87, she'd seen the world change in ways she never liked. She spent her last years in a big, decaying plantation-style house where the smell of mothballs and stale bourbon clung to the air like ghosts. One night, while helping her with her meds, she grabbed my wrists. Her fingers, bony and cold, pressed into my skin like iron shackles. "There's something you ought to know before I go," she whispered. I thought she was about to tell me where she hid family money, because God knows she never spent a dime. But what she said instead made my stomach drop. "You ain't really my granddaughter. And your mama ain't who you think she is." I felt the blood drain from my face. "What are you talking about?" She coughed, but there was a sick amusement in her eyes, like she'd been waiting to spill this venom for decades. "I had a daughter before your mama. Before I married your granddaddy. Her name was Evangeline." I had never heard that name before. She was beautiful, like a star fallen from the heavens, but she was wild. I tried to raise her right, but she was born with the devil in her. Miss Adelaide's voice shook, and for the first time in my life, she looked scared. She got herself in trouble with a man she had no business with. That Southern code where she got pregnant out of wedlock. When she told me, I was so mad. I locked her up in the attic. My breath hitched. What? She was shaming the family, dragging my name through the dirt. I couldn't let that stand. So I kept her up there until she gave birth. I gripped the chair, bile rising in my throat. "What happened to the baby?" I whisper. Miss Adelaide smiled. "She had a boy, a sweet little thing. But Evangeline, she never got to hold him." My heartbeat pounded in my ears. "What did you do?" Miss Adelaide's eyes locked onto mine, and for a moment I saw something unholy in them. I told her that the baby was stillborn, but that wasn't true. I felt my hands tremble. "I gave him away. A couple passing through town. Miss folks needed a child." I felt sick. "You stole her baby?" Miss Adelaide tilted her head. She was never fit to be a mother. "I did what I had to do. Because I need you to find that boy." I stood up so fast, the chair nearly toppled over. "You want me to find the child you stole?" My voice was shaking with rage. "After all these years, and then what? Tell him what you did?" She gave me a desperate look. It wasn't my decision to make. I should have told the truth. But I can't leave this world without knowing what happened to him. I stared at the frail woman who had ruled our family like a tyrant, the woman who had turned my mother into a shell of herself with her cruelty. I thought about the girl Evangeline who'd been trapped in that attic like a secret too shameful to be spoken of. I thought about that baby, stolen from his mother's arms and handed off like an unwanted pet. Then I thought about the way Miss Adelaide had looked at me my whole life like I wasn't quite hers. A terrible thought crept in my mind. "Grandma," I said slowly, "who was that baby?" She opened her mouth, but before she could answer, the monitors started beeping. Her eyes rolled back, and within seconds the nurses were rushing in. Miss Adelaide never got to finish her confession. She died that night, taking the truth with her. I never told my mother. I never told anyone. I let Miss Adelaide's sins die with her, let her secrets rot in that old, decaying house. But now, every time I walk past a stranger with familiar eyes, I wonder, is he out there? Does he know what was stolen from him? And most importantly, did I do the right thing by keeping secret buried? So, Rhett, are you ever letting my grandmother die without exposing the truth?